Such talent in this congregation. I love being in the midst of greatness, and that's who you are. My friends, I am a spiritual fringe dweller. And I think there's a number of spiritual fringe dwellers here in this congregation, and if you think you may not be, after this service today, after this lesson, you will be. So, what is a spiritual fringe dweller? Are they mystics, breatharians, or just some hippie wackos? No, it's millions of people all over the globe have now taken this step into a new way of living. And most are very normal. They live ordinary lives. They go through the motions of living and fitting into society, and often you can't tell them apart from the rest. But in their minds and in their hearts, they are on the outer edges in a dimension of consciousness that is removed from the mainstream. They have detached from tribal mind. Consider the words of Rumi when he says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Rumi was a spiritual fringe dweller. Now, in order to understand spiritual fringe dwellers, we need to understand dimensional living. Some time ago, some of you had asked me if I would expand on the idea of third, fourth, and fifth dimensional living. And I so loved that you asked me, because it has been one of my most favorite preoccupations in my daily spiritual studies for the last few years. Therefore, keep in mind, spiritual fringe dwellers are observers of tribal mind. They don't get connected or hooked into the collective chaos, if you will. I don't know if you've noticed if there's chaos on planet. And they look only within for their answers, for their own inner power, for their strength. Currently, it has been said by quantum physicists that there are 11 dimensions that they can detect so far. But just for today, we're going to just stick with the third, fourth, and fifth dimensions. So let's start with the basics. I know you all know this, and that is everything is energy, right? And energy, if used properly, is your greatest asset. Therefore, these dimensions that I'm going to be talking about here today, they are energy fields. So what are these dimensions and how do they relate to our everyday lives? First, what is the third dimensional world? This is the world that you and I have been born into, and everything in this third dimension is made of light. We are light waves slowed down into solid matter. The third dimensional world is a very dense, energetic, linear world. Have you noticed that? People that have had near-death experiences don't want to come back because it's pretty darn dense here. So how about the fourth dimension? The fourth dimension is all about time and space. Albert Einstein described the fourth dimension as all time existing at the same time. Your past, your past self, your future self, and your present self, all happening now. Now, some of you might be like, what? What? And I completely understand. It took me a while before I could grasp that concept. Now, for clarification, in the third dimensional world, time is linear. There's a past that happened back then. There's a future that's yet to happen, and then there's the present moment. In the fourth dimension, everything is happening all at once. There's no time, there's no space. It's the astral plane. But let me tell you a little bit about the fourth dimension. And this is a tool that you can use, and it can be quite fun if used properly. You may notice that when I lead a meditation, I ask you to remember a time when you felt maybe loved, maybe a sense of bliss, when you were the happiest, when you had a spiritual awakening, whatever positive memory there might be. And basically, what this is taking your awareness and traveling in the fourth dimension. And in consciousness, you are traveling through space and time, tuning into a frequency. Is everybody following me? Oh, gosh, I love you guys. So you're tuning into a frequency, and you're bringing that frequency into the now moment to change your molecular biology. For instance, if you have ever the need to be uplifted, you go into the fourth dimensional consciousness. Think of a time when you felt blissful, when you felt happy, and then you bring that essence into your being. Dr. Joe Dispenza and a lot of his science research team has found that every time that we immerse ourselves into a positive, potent, uplifting energy, that we change our molecular biology, we change our behavior, and this is the best part, we bring forth a higher state of being to planet Earth. And Lord knows this planet could use a little bit more of that dimension, right? Personally, I start this exercise every day. And the key is you don't stay stuck in a memory. That's not what we're asking. We're saying that you leave the memory, but you are bringing forth a frequency. And then you can send that frequency before you throughout your day, throughout your week. The key is to elevate your energetic field. The fourth dimension is also known as a pass-through. It is passing through one dimension of the third to the fifth. So then, what is the fifth dimensional world? It is a great awakening of higher mind. When you enter into the fifth dimension, this is where all becomes so clear as to who you are. It is when you say, oh, I am higher mind. Oh, I am a quantum of God force. Ah, I am celestial light. And the nearest thing in our terminology that describes the fifth dimension is grace, which feels like a type of love that is beyond what we can describe here in the third dimension. Now, keep in mind, if you are a fringe dweller, which I think a lot of you are, if you are a fringe dweller, you are not of the world. You are a skilled observer of it. As a spiritual fringe dweller, you are on the outside, and you may enter in from time to time, but you're not triggered all the time by it. Now, there will be times as a fringe dweller that you will get triggered. And it's not that you don't react. Believe me, I react all the time. The question is, how long are you going to run that program? Because justified, valid, or not, the only person that it hurts is you. You know, that if you let a reaction run you, and you are living in the third dimensional world where this is what happens, you are in the world and you are of the world. And Jesus said, I am in the world, but I'm not of it. So he was a fringe dweller. And as a fringe dweller, you take some time and you say, oh, if you get a little reaction, I'm off balance. I need to observe. I need to let go and not let this reaction run me or define me. You're on the fringe. You are now a skilled observer. People who remember to go into that fourth dimension, remember, go into the fourth dimension, plug into something that's of a higher vibration, and you tap into a higher energy, and you can shift quickly out of that reaction. Now, as far as the fifth dimension goes, it's not a place where you go. It is rather a vibration that you are becoming. It has to do with resonance. It has to do with frequency. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, does Unity even teach this stuff? Reverend Cathy might be going into never, 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 never land. And I say, oh, my friends, I am only digging into Unity teachings that have been lost for a very long time. I am dusting off deeper teachings that have been shoved aside for years. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, taught about these dimensions early in his spiritual awakening. So let me read some of the notes from Charles Fillmore from a Sunday lesson that he did September the 20th, 1932. Now, first of all, not to question Mr. Fillmore's teaching here, but I do believe that he was actually talking about the fifth dimension when he mentions the fourth dimension. So I had to travel into the fourth dimension, and since all time exists at the same time, I had a little conversation with Mr. Fillmore. And I said, Mr. Fillmore, and he said, Cathy, call me Chuck. I said, all right, Chuck. I believe that you were actually talking about the fifth dimension in these notes. Would you mind if I just changed the words from fourth dimension to fifth dimension? And he said, Cathy, you know what? You are one of my favorite Unity students. I think you're right. So just by all means, do what you will. So I did. I changed the words from fourth dimension to fifth dimension, but this is what he said. These are his actual notes. The aim of these lessons is to make tangible and real the fifth dimension known to Bible students as the kingdom of heaven. In scriptures, we find that nearly always those who were considered prophets and seers were able to touch an invisible realm. What is this invisible realm? It is the fifth dimension. In other words, he goes on to say, they developed the capacity to get into this kingdom. And he goes on and he says, today we are going to concentrate and give our whole attention to this kingdom of the heavens, the realm of the fifth dimension, and we will enter into this invisible realm, for the kingdom of heaven resides within each one of us. He was way ahead of his time. Or maybe we just got lost somewhere along the line. We're finally waking up to it. So in the Bible, there's a great story. It's when Moses delivers the people from Israel, from Egypt to the Promised Land. And the Promised Land would be a land overflowing with milk and honey. This is the fifth dimensional reality. It's a frequency where, all good is present. It's the land of milk and honey. Jesus and Charles Fillmore and other great teachers call this the kingdom of heaven. However, what happened was that the Israelites approached the promised land, and Moses sent out 12 spies to look over the land, to describe, get a description of the people. You see, he needed to kind of size up the opposition. So the spies come back with reports that the land, yes, indeed, it was filled with all abundance, filled with milk and honey, and meaning that it was prosperous. It was a most abundant, beautiful nirvana place where all their needs were met. So to verify their opinion of the fertility of the land, they brought back a huge cluster of grapes. And these grapes were so big that 2 people had to carry them. Now, except for Joshua and Caleb, who were excited, they were all excited about the promised land. The other spies were freaking out. And they said, we found giants in that land, and they were so big that we were like grasshoppers. This is the first that we hear about grasshopper consciousness. This is third dimensional consciousness. You see, this is very symbolic. This is very significant because as soon as you give your power over to fear, over to lack, over to limitation, to the third dimensional tribal consciousness, your fear becomes like a giant and you become this little grasshopper. And sometimes our fears can hypnotize us. Have any of you ever been hypnotized by fear? All hands should be going up. And those fears can defeat the all possibility of who you are. Those fears can negate the value of who you are. Now, the Israelites, they stayed stuck in that reality for quite some time because they entertained and they were hypnotized by grasshopper consciousness, the 3D consciousness, the tribal mind. Fortunately, the story of the Israelites does not end with the fear of the giants. There was a day when they awakened and they woke up from their being hypnotized, from being in fear, to the truth. And they overcame all these, what they thought were obstacles, and they enveloped a higher consciousness, and they were led to the land of milk and honey, where everything in their lives was, all the good was provided for. The fifth dimensional reality, the land of great abundance, the land of fantastic good. I love this. It's such a great story because it's indicative, my friends, of where we are now in today's history. We are moving toward the land of milk and honey, the consciousness of the kingdom of heaven, but there are some crosshairs of grasshopper consciousness, and grasshopper consciousness is having its last hurrah, where there is fear, there's chaos, there's judgment. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed it. You see, the land of milk and honey, the 5D earth, all the good that you seek, it already exists. It's just waiting for an opening. It's waiting for you to be a vibrational match. Grasshopper consciousness, 3D consciousness, doesn't allow for that good to come in easily because it's met with such resistance. Now, I want to give you a bit of contrast between the two worlds and just kind of give you further definition of the third and the fifth dimensions. The third dimensional world is it's an ego-based reality where people identify with what others think of them. The fifth dimensional world says, oh, I'm so much more than that. I am an eternal spirit. Those who wish to be in the third dimensional world, they say, I am who the outside world tells me I am. The fifth dimensional world is when you say, oh, I am who my inner higher self tells me I am. The third dimensional reality can be defined as separation, separated by race, religion, politics, gender. I'm this and you're that. I'm right and you're wrong. In fifth dimensional consciousness, we are all one accord. And you realize that separation is the biggest illusion ever created. My friends, we are one. And here's the interesting thing. You have to separate from the 3D world in order to see that we're all one. You have to separate. 3D reality is being a victim to circumstances. Things are happening to me, giving power away to outer people and circumstances, which, by the way, makes them, this is ironic, it makes them more vulnerable to outer circumstances and people. The 5D earth is when you say, with spirit, with God as my partner, I am a co-creator, I am responsible, I trust the universe because in everything I am protected, I'm in the flow, I'm in abundance, I'm prosperous, and I trust the process. The 3D earth is where people think there is a problem to every solution. I know only those with dyslexia got that. The 3D earth, I'll repeat that, the 3D earth is when people think there's a problem in every solution. And the 5D people, this is where they say, well, within every problem is a great solution. The 3D earth believes in lack and limitation, that there's only so much to go around. Now, people know that know to shift into the 5D, they know that abundance is really their natural state. The great teacher, and who is a wonderful spiritual fringe dweller, Krishnamurti, knew the truth about the third dimension when he said, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Isn't that amazing? Yes, indeed. He is saying, don't get adjusted to the 3D world. Yes, we are born into this 3D world, and it is our master class. My friends, we signed up for it. It is a master class of not participating in the chaos, not participating in the judgments, the division, the warfare. And if you don't participate in the 3D matrix, it can't touch you vibrationally, because 3D has to rise up to touch you. That is the universal law. That is the law of vibration. And the good news is millions and millions and millions of people are waking up, and they're going on this journey of being a spiritual fringe dweller. The author, H.G. Wells, who was known as one of the fathers of science fiction, wrote a book called In the Days of the Comet. It's a story that has an interesting parallel of our current time on planet Earth. So it tells of a world that is torn with hate and conflict and division and lies and betrayal and war amongst each other and amongst countries. And one day, a mysterious comet approaches and hovers over planet Earth and discharges this green cloud that puts everyone into a very strange, deep sleep for quite some time. And later, everyone starts to wake up. It's the same in our physical world. But with the amazing thing, what happens is that they're starting to wake up. And they see that, wow, there's no more mistrust. There's no hostility. There's no judgments. Everyone is calm, loving, understanding. Soldiers climb out of their trenches to greet one another as friends. Peace is no longer a word, but an actual condition. The awakened world in this book realizes something, that their previous cruelty was an outcome of human hypnosis. Human hypnosis. The awakened world is now, they see that there was a previous cruelty that truly was part of this humanity that we see we see it as tribal mind, but because we're spiritual fringe dwellers, we're not susceptible to this human hypnosis. My friends, if one only dwells in the third dimension, they are a part of this human hypnosis where the outer world will tell them how to feel, will tell them how to react, what to be the victim of. These are the words to say. Here are your sound bites for the day. Live and abide by what the tribal mind tells you, basically. But then you come here to Unity of Santa Barbara, and you remember these Unity teachings, and we say, you know what? We believe we're a lot more than that. Here, we offer the suggestion to wake up to who you truly are. The kingdom of heaven is within, and that is your true essence. The greatest spiritual teachers and avatars and sages of the ages all taught one fundamental truth. Whether you're Jewish or Buddhist or Christian or agnostic, whatever you are, and that is all power, all substance, all security, all support, all freedom, all well-being, all peace, all love, all joy is within. I want to remind each one of you, my fellow spiritual fringe dwellers, this is the greatest time to be alive on planet Earth right now, because the fifth dimension is present, and more and more and more people are waking up to it, waking up from a very deep sleep from tribal mind. And once again, as we remember one of our favorite spiritual fringe dwellers, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. God bless you, my spiritual friends. I just woke up again. All right, this is the time where we receive our offering. And I just love being in your presence. I want you to know that. You are such high vibrational friends, and it's a great blessing. As you can tell, every Sunday we've been growing, and the energy has been getting higher. And with that, you have been so kind and so generous with your offerings, and it allows us to be the lighthouse here in Santa Barbara. So first of all, from my heart, and I know from Reverend Temple's heart, we thank you for your generosity. And with that, we're going to be taking saying our affirmation. And as you know, I like to take it slowly, consciously, if you'll just follow along with me. And that is, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am. And just stop right there. Take that in. Good. Just take that in. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am. As you're holding your gift, it's very powerful to know the words you are saying. Remember, everything is energy. So you are inserting energy into your gift right now. And so divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have. Take a moment. All that you have is all good. Everything good is all that you have. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I share. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I share. Take a moment, remember all the kindnesses and the generosities that have been given to you, and now you have the opportunity to pass that forward. And so, dear God, I ask at this time that you not only bless these gifts being given here today, I ask that you bless each of the givers, and as each person gives from a heart of kindness and generosity, may it come back to them 1,000-fold. May it come back to them in magical and wondrous ways. For this blessing, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you. And for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until I couldn't do it without these amazing musicians over here. Thank you.
Well, I've got a vortex to 5D with some closing announcements for you. First, I'd like to welcome Reverend Michelle Hubbard to come to the stage to speak about her Metaphysical Spiritual Experience course. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to be leading a Metaphysical Spiritual Experience Thursdays from 10 a.m. to noon. And if you want to take what Reverend Cathy was just talking about and putting it into your life experience, that's what we're going to be doing. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith says that we are all citizens of eternity here on a mission for God. And I believe that those of us who are choosing to be on planet right now, our mission includes helping people move from 3D, 4D into 5D. How do we do that? In Unity, how we do everything is through prayer and meditation, and that's what we're going to be focusing on during our time together on Thursdays. We're going to begin with prayer. Every week, I'm going to be sharing a different way to be in prayer. There is absolutely no wrong way, and we're going to learn that. I'm going to start this Thursday with doing a refresher on Unity's affirmative 5-step prayer process. But moving forward, we're going to be including words of master teachers like Jesus in the Bible, but also like Rumi, like Hafiz. And we're even going to have a time when we're going to show up, all wrong, do prayer, all wrong, do meditation, really wrong, and it's going to turn out that there is no wrong way to both do prayer and meditation and be ourselves. So I'd love to have you join me. It's going to be a really come as you are party to move into who you're becoming party. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Michelle. So that's starting this Thursday. It's a weekly group from 10 to 12 in person. So we'll look forward to seeing you here. 2 hours from 10 to 12. It's an ongoing group. Yeah. So the next course, actually, as you well know by now, is Reverend Cathy Norman's Prosperity Plus course. It's taking place on Zoom starting on August 30th. This is an 8-week course about prosperity consciousness. It's going to be amazing by our very own Reverend Cathy Norman. Sign-ups are at the welcome table out here across from the doors. You can also sign up for Reverend Hubbard's course there, so please join us. Actually, the next announcement is very neat. Reverend Temple texted me over the weekend and said, we're starting our pet ministry and we have our first pet. So I want to introduce you to Coco. If you would like to explore having this beautiful animal as part of your family and your home, please email petadoption@unitysb.org. Again, this is client number 1 for Unity of Santa Barbara's pet ministry. If you'd like to honor a person, pet, place, or life event with a flower dedication, please contact Peggy Haskell at peggy@unitysb.org. She's right there, our very own Peggy. You can also actually speak with her about volunteering here at Unity of Santa Barbara. Again, peggy@unitysb.org, or just get her contact information here. Our office and Shirley Campbell Chapel hours are Tuesdays to Thursdays from 11 to 3. We welcome you here every week. And lastly, I'd like to share that we are only $2,000 or $3,000 away from our $50,000 goal of our match fundraiser. Now, yes, that's right. I want to thank you so much for your participation and all of you who have supported this center through the years, even far beyond before my time here. And it's truly because of you that what we do here for the community is made possible. So if you'd like to participate in these remaining dollars for this match, you can go to the office and drop off a check, or on Givelify, there's a match campaign button that you can press. And thank you very much. And let's stand for our peace song. of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So it is.